Chelsea 0, Manchester City 3. Now, 10 minutes into this game, it was quite obvious what Rosinho wanted to do. His entire game plan was to play in a low block and nullify Manchester City's threat, especially O'Reilly going into the channels, going into the box, and Shecky on the other hand. Now, what happened basically was this. For most part of the game, especially in the first half, when off the ball, Chelsea settled into a 5-4-1 shape. And it was usually Andre Santos here who moved to join the back line to make up that back five. Cucurella is just somewhere out of your screen that you cannot see him now. But the main reason why Rosinho did this was to deal with the threat of Nico O'Reilly here. If you remember the Arsenal and even the Liverpool game, O'Reilly was a problem. Getting into those half space between centre back and full back, and also getting even inside the 18-yard box to do damage. O'Reilly was a problem in this game, and Santos had one job. Follow him, track his run, make sure that that gap between centre back and full back never opens for O'Reilly. Let me show you a few examples of that. See an example. Now, Man City have gone long here. And if you look in the middle of the pitch, O'Reilly is just about leaving his left back position. And then Santos has stepped up all the way to close him down in the middle of the pitch, but immediately goes to. And even if we take it a few frames further, O'Reilly starts to make a run into that Chelsea's 18-yard box. And notice that he's the one that Santos actually goes with. Now, this has been one of City's main outlets in matches this season. Having O'Reilly tuck into that channel between fullback and centre back. And Rosinho set up with this five at the back, with Santos dropping in to make sure that he nullifies that threat of O'Reilly. On the other side, again, you had the threat of Ryan Shecky also getting into space and sometimes rotating with Bernardo Silva. The same thing happened there, but this time, I think is the reason why he opted to play Hato, who was more of a left back stroke centre back to deal with that threat. I don't know, but I think that's the reason. But let me just show you one passage of play that summarizes everything that Chelsea tried to do in that first half and did successfully. In this phase of play, Chelsea are not pressing at all. They're not pushing high up. I want you to keep an eye on O'Reilly that I mentioned before. And as he drives into that half space, just keep an eye on Santos here as well. That Santos actually makes sure that O'Reilly doesn't have that free space to drive into. And then what happened consistently in that first half again is this doubling up on Doku here. So you usually have Estevao dropping down to help Malo Gusto double up on Doku. Doku was a major outlet for Man City in the game, but I think in the first half, he was not very effective because Estevao and Gusto effectively doubled up on him. And that was effective. And then coming down to the center of the pitch again, inside the 18-yard box, you had Santos dropping in to essentially make up a back five to make sure that O'Reilly does not have that pocket of space in that channel to run into. And I think in the first half, they did this pretty well. And then when Man City went on the other side again, it was the same thing there. In that same phase of play, when City eventually switched the ball onto the right-hand side with Semenyo, it's the same thing you would notice there. If I take it one frame further, they switch to the right-hand side again, and you will notice that Pedro Neto drops, and then Cucurella comes in again, and both of them can double up on Semenyo on that part of the pitch. And then on this occasion too, you would notice that Hato is the one now protecting that channel to make sure that Shecky does not have the space to get into that channel. So I think overall, in the first half, Chelsea were able to hold their low block and defensive shape pretty well. And not only that, I think the plan to go forward was to try to hit Man City in a counter-attack. And I think there were a few occasions in that first half where Chelsea were able to win the ball deep in City's half, and then they could immediately be on the counter-attack, like on this occasion where it ended up with Pedro Neto beating a defender and then slamming the ball straight at the side netting. Then I think they had one or two counter-attacking chances like this. But even with the build-up, I thought that Chelsea's build-up was, to some extent, it was good to some extent. But you look at one example, how they were able to get themselves out of that 4-2-4 press from Man City. Remember, this was something that we mentioned during the pre-match analysis. This is Man City's usual 4-2-4 press, and then Chelsea are trying to build up on this occasion. Of course, as usual, they have put the two Chelsea's pivots in their cover shadow. And I think a major outlet for Chelsea in this game was Cucurella. And the way they tried to exploit this gap was you had Joao Pedro dropping deep. Just take a look at Joao Pedro. It's at the edge of the screen here. You cannot see him yet. Joao Pedro drops deep. What he does is he's coming in now and trying to enter into this gap. Now means that Semenyo just had to move slightly central a little bit to try to cut off the passing lane. And then that then opened the chance for Cucurella to be able to receive the ball out wide and then played in Pedro Neto. This happened once or twice in this game. And even on this occasion, though, when Cucurella continued his run and that pass eventually ended up with Cucurella putting the ball in the back of the net, although that was chalked off for offside. So all well and good. In the first half, I thought that Chelsea had a very good setup. They were achieving their purpose. They were doing what they set out to achieve. But as usual, it's Chelsea. It's Chelsea. They will self-destruct at some point. And it just took 5 minutes into the second half for this to happen. I mean, everything that happened on this right-hand side that led to Sheki crossing the ball, I don't think it was a big problem. I don't think it was a big problem because Chelsea had players in the middle of the pitch. If you look at it, it's 3 versus 3 in the middle of the box. Look at Santos on O'Reilly, which we have talked about before. That is his job. That is his man. He had one job on the pitch. Stay with O'Reilly. Don't give him the chance in the box. To begin with, I thought that Santos was, good side of O'Reilly and should be able to win this header. But I don't know what happened when this ball was crossed that suddenly, this torso here, Santos just lost that individual battle and then allowed O'Reilly to get his head on the ball. There is nothing Rosinho can do about that. As a coach, there is absolutely nothing you can do about that. That is your player's responsibility, and he didn't perform to it. The second goal they conceded, 6 minutes after that, it was the same thing. It was Chelsea self-destructing again. Again, this one, I mean, look at that part of the pitch after this corner. It's 3 against 2. Chelsea have 3 defenders in that part of the pitch against 2. But shockingly though, as Sheki is moving towards the middle of the pitch with the ball, suddenly, for no reason, Joao Pedro and Malo Gusto decided to leave the man they were marking, leave where that they were marking, and decided to go and press him. I don't know why they were so interested in occupying this gap. And then at the end of the day, you now had 3 Chelsea players going to press one person and then leaving somebody free behind them. Again, it's just defensive madness. Nothing a coach can do about it. And of course, they ended up conceding this goal. The third goal, I don't even think we need to analyze that. I think it was the most comical of them, and it just sort of sums up what this Chelsea team has become. I mean, once Caicedo received this ball here, he was in trouble already. There were 3 Man City players pressing him already. I don't know. I would have thought that Caicedo just gets rid of the ball. I don't know how he thought he was going to wriggle his way out of that situation. In fact, he tried to wriggle his way by facing his own goal. And of course, once he got dispossessed here, that was it. It was a goal. And so, in the nutshell, I think that Chelsea had a good first half. In the second half, they would have continued defending the way they were defending. Who knows? Maybe they would have been able to seize a moment from one of those counter-attacks. But as they did in the PSG game, they considered goals from their own errors. They self-destructed, which is something that has been going on. I've always maintained one thing, that this is going to be the test of Rosinho's mantle as a manager. He's going to play Manchester United next. Manchester United is probably the most informed team in the Premier League now. I don't have high hopes for Chelsea in that game, but let's see. Next week. Let's see how it goes. But in other good news, Chelsea are in pole position to qualify for the Europa League next season. If you like analysis video like this, hit the like button, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button so that you can see me again. Cheers.